in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Move to reappoint Lori Bernstein to the Conservation Commission for a 4-year term ending March 31st, 2024.
I'll second Lori Burstein.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Move to appoint Sanford Coleman, John Ridson, Dennis Clavette, Mary Prokowski, Heather Stavens, James Pritchard, and F. Michael Francis to the Ad hoc Government Study Committee to complete a 1-year term ending February 28th, 2021.
Second for discussion.
Okay,
Okay, so my question is, in my packet, I only got the statements of interest, from Peg Bussey, Betsy Feldman, and, Joe Ware. They all seemed very well qualified, especially of course Peg, who made that her campaign. Betsy had a list of things that she's done as far as, investigating other governments. She seemed like she would really come into this with a great deal of knowledge as well. And so I'm wondering why the people you chose were better than the candidates that I have the information for.
well, I don't know if anybody's better than anybody, but, so,
Well, how did you choose them then? Hopefully you thought you chose the best ones. I mean,
no, the personnel committee did, and maybe Jim and David and Sarah can.
You have to have a balance between party affiliation.
I
You have
understand
to have a
that.
balance between whether they're on boards or not, so that leaves only 2 positions for people that are on boards.
Right.
Of course, I voted for myself, so there leaves only 1 left for that.
So
Right.
Dave and Jim picked it. You picked the entire group.
So once again,
So-
there's really not fair representation if Dave and Jim picked the group.
You
So
can't really
the other
say that
people.
though, because I mean, we have elections every year, we have a majority on that committee, and that's who we
Focusing
recommend.
on this committee, I'm not really sure why the people were chosen. I don't know, I vaguely know F. Michael Francis, but I wondered why he got that position rather than Peg or Betsy, who, I mean, I don't know because I don't have his paperwork, I only have it for Peg, Betsy, and Joe, but they were very qualified. And so, you know, I'm just wondering what their qualifications were that you chose them.
Yeah, Mike's,
One of you should have it at your seat.
Right, so when we sat down.
Yeah, I don't have
When we
time.
sat down at the meeting, the packets were there. So presumably the 2 of you got the packets before I did, because neither of you read them there. So I don't know how.
what's that?
You didn't read them?
Did you get the packets beforehand?
We got
Is that
them all
what
at the
it-
same
right.
time.
Alright, cause you picked the names before you read anything.
So you didn't read
I
the,
picked up the piece of paper, I checked off the ones I thought that I was gonna recommend, and I showed it to David.
and why did you recommend them, based on what
Years
qualifications?
of living in town, qualifications.
But have they, and I don't have time to read this sitting here, I don't think it's fair, and I've asked a number of times, Lori, not to get information like this at the meeting that that we're responsible for, but that we can't read at the meeting.
We just got some of them Friday night,
Okay, so maybe we should table this so we could read this.
and then we just got some today.
Friday
So-
night is after the deadlines, guys, that you published.
So Sanford Cohen didn't write anything.
Jim Pritchard didn't write anything, but we know Jim.
Yeah, we know
We
Jim.
know Sanford College.
John
so-
Rinson didn't
I
write
don't know
anything.
Sanford Cohen, I don't,
Dennis wrote, concerned about future business relations in town. Mary Prokowski wrote best interest of the town, and that she was a resident of Ellington. Heather wrote,
and she was on the last chart.
okay, Heather wrote, it says field not completed. Okay. Arlo wrote family in Ellington for 6 generations, Ellington business owner. And F. Michael Francis wrote, I'm a lifelong Ellington resident, and being so, I have an interest in seeing the town go down the right path for our residents and future residents. And you read what the other,
So if an objective person was looking at these, I think they would make some different choices. If you read Betsy's and Peg's.
It's up to you guys.
Our recommendations, anybody else?
I'm
want
sorry,
any
Dave, you
input?
have to speak up.
So it was our recommendation, does anybody else want any input from the board? You wanna table it, you wanna look at it closer? Wait till the next meeting? I don't have to make a decision tonight.
I don't wanna wait another month.
What, Lori?
We don't really wanna wait another month, but, yes, sir.
I think when we put these committees together, we put it together with a good faith that they'll
Every
carry
person
it
that's on
through.
this list can come to the meetings,
Right.
be involved with everything.
Right.
I mean, it's really not that much different having your name on the list or not having it on the list. We're all gonna work together,
Of course it's
whoever
different.
shows up.
I don't agree with that statement.
Jack, what do you wanna table it, wanna research it more?
And Ron, I would say that the committee, if they didn't read what the qualifications were, that maybe they should relook at that.
Well, I'll say over again that, we have to put our faith in these subcommittees to some degree.
But-
Then, we all get a chance to look at it anyway. And there's a lot to be said about those names that are on there, they're very lighthearted with a moment or two of writing, but
Right.
in reality, they have a huge background in the knowledge and the values of the town.
Yes,
And they didn't move in 20 years ago, they
But-
moved in 4 generations ago or whatever.
but
That makes a
Betsy
big
and.
difference.
so is that
No, it
why, I
doesn't.
mean, you don't know why they've made choices, but is that the reason we pick people, cause they've been here for 4 generations?
Yeah, I think so.
That the old versus the
Doesn't seem to hurt.
Easy on
It
the old,
doesn't hurt.
easy on the old.
I don't mean old as an elderly.
I think the newer people in town should have,
Right.
Yeah.
follow the floor plan of those who've been here before.
The newer people should follow the quote floor plan of those who've been here before.
Until your green card is over.
I wish we could have
Whoa.
everybody on it.
I think
mean, that would be.
that the
Oh,
people
Ronnie.
who
It'd be
have
nice if
had
we could have
experience
everybody
in
on it.
this area and have investigated this, and have an understanding of different forms of government should be on this committee, not people who've just lived here a long time.
What's your pleasure? Do you wanna pass this, or do you wanna postpone it? Whatever your pleasure is.
When's our next meeting?
April 13th.
What's your pleasure?
I would like very much for Peg Bussey and Betsy Feldman's names to be placed on this, since they took the time to articulate the reasons why they're interested in moving the town forward.
Okay. Linda?
I, with Sarah.
Okay. Ron?
I don't think that the process will be any different if you put it onto the agenda 3 or 4 more times, so I would just as soon vote for it right now.
Okay. Dave?
Either way, we could table it or vote for it.
Okay. Jack?
You know, when we first talked about this a couple months ago, we talked about the conservative history and the representation that people have in the election process in electing the boards of finance, the boards of education, the board of selectmen. And we talked about town manager, administration, and we talked, or at least I mentioned that I felt that this committee needed to kind of pave the way for the folks in town to understand what they are going to require in the future and what's in their best interest, not taking away from the electorate their right to vote and decide things in the community. I don't think it's a good move to start this off on controversy. I think we need to start in a unified path that's going to get us to where I think we all want to be. So,
Spoken like a leader, Jack, I totally agree with that.
and I think some of the folks that talk about the people that have been here for a long time would also agree with that, because they have a feeling for the town as well. I could go either way.
Jim?
You pick these names, you have Sanford Cohen, who's on the Wetlands Commission, a lot of experience with the town. John Risden was on the last charter revision. Heather Stavens was on the last charter revision. I'm on the Board of Selectmen, Mike was on the ZBA, and you can only have 2 people that are on boards. I mean, they should've, I don't know if we could've changed that, had more people on boards, or it's gotta be that 7 number.
Well, that's what's really kind of.
So, I mean, I picked those people, that's what I recommended, and I'm gonna recommend them again, so.
And I'm gonna hope that we have the people who have.
I mean, everybody here is welcome to come, take all the input.
Jim, excuse me, I'm gonna really push for the people that have researched and have knowledge about forms of government, because that's what the
So you
committee's
think
about.
none of these other people have any
Well, they
knowledge
didn't
of forms of
express
government?
that, they did not express that in any way.
Yes, sir.
Is there a fixed amount of people
Yes.
that could be on it?
7 and only 2, can only be
Okay.
1/3 that serve on.
So you can't
Boards
amend the
and
motion to
commissions.
add 2 more people, then, you can't do
I
that.
don't know the legality of that.
It's just a committee, it's an ad hoc.
Ad hoc committee, everybody can come put their input in. I think you're making a big deal out of something that doesn't need to be made a big deal out of, I really do.
I think you're digging in too deep on something.
Yeah, then if it's a big deal, why can't that?
I mean, you're the one that's like refusing to negotiate or consider
What
something
would-
else.
What would you do if you had the majority? Would you just back down? I mean, this is what
Asking
we
you to
recommend.
back
You
down,
have- you have the
asking you to
majority?
consider.
Well, right now it's even. We have 1 affiliated.
I think what we're asking is that you consider the 2 people who have articulated clearly why they would be the best people for the role.
So who would you take off then?
Well, given that the other people didn't write anything, I'm not particularly
Take
married.
me off, I didn't write anything. Put Harlow on there, but he wrote more than I did, you know, this is getting started. Everybody can come and put their input in. Peg's got research, we'll read it. Tom, he's been involved the last charter revision, he had a lot of input in with the charter revision before that, where all they did was study about a town manager. He's got a lot of experience with that, I expected him to apply. He didn't,
Yeah, I know. It's obvious.
but he's gonna come, right?
First meeting.
Yeah. He'll probably show up for every meeting where people on the committee will probably miss meetings. So you're making a big deal out of nothing.
I'm not making
Do
any
that.
bigger of a deal about this than you are being stubborn, so,
It's
it
the way
is what it is.
People on it.
Well, we do have a motion and a second. Yes, sir.
I think that being articulate and being a great orator doesn't always apply to the subject.
I think being knowledgeable is helpful.
Are you making light of these gentlemen that were already been picked?
No,
You're
because
not
we don't
knowledgeable?
know, because I'm not saying that, and thank you for pointing that out. I don't mean to say that. I mean to say that I can see on paper how Betsy and Peg are knowledgeable. I have no knowledge of their knowledge because it wasn't expressed in any way.
Understood.
So I don't mean any offense to the other people.
Neither do I.
I just can see on paper that Peg and Betsy do have that information.
I could rest pretty easy in the knowledge that regardless what these people are, who they are, the room will be filled with more orators, and people could articulate their words, no matter who's on the committee. There'll be a room full of others that'll be more than willing to speak. it's a committee of 100, who knows? We need a leadership in this thing, need to get it to a committee, so I vote for it.
That's a good point, cause the question is, can the people that you've put on this committee provide the leadership that we need to get to the goal that we want, that we seem to commonly agree to?
So if I were to apply for a job and give you an application that was blank versus an application that detailed how I was qualified, which one would you consider?
I'm not hiring anybody here.
Yeah.
tonight.
As
You're
long
not
as you
answering
work-
that
hey,
question,
as long as
which
you
you're
work
not
for
doing.
free, it's okay.
But Jack, thanks for getting us to
You're not
where we
answering
need
that
to be,
question.
which is what we want this committee to do and to be able to do for the town.
Well, right now we have a motion and a second.
Let's vote on it. People can come to the meeting, everybody can, all put input into the meeting. And the ones that wanna be there, will be there.
I think the more people that we have on this, the better, so.
So do we change it to add more people?
We're all citizens. We all
No,
get a vote.
we can't right now, but. We have a motion on the floor, we have a second. What do you wanna do, Jack?
What do I wanna do?
Well, you're,
Oh, I'm just thinking about something, you know, we have a personnel committee, we have an ordinance committee, and we have a policy committee. I got this packet like all the other selectmen did, and it did not list all the people or have the paperwork in that the personnel committee had available to it. So, I guess I ask, when the policy or the ordinance committee meets, are all the selectmen given copies of the paperwork that goes to that committee as well?
no.
I don't think so. You understand what I'm saying? When we meet as a policy committee.
I understand what you're saying, but.
When we meet as a policy committee, the rest of the board of selectmen doesn't get the full packet that we get for the policy committee meeting.
Right,
So who,
But we got it.
who didn't get a full packet here? We all have the same information from.
as of tonight, we all have the information.
Which is when the three of us got it, tonight.
No, I don't see here the, I see Pritchard,
Oh, and then there was another one at our table, which.
Yeah, there,
I-
Joe
maybe it's in
Weir.
the file over there, I don't know, I'm certainly all got it,
Yeah.
the same thing.
in other words, I guess it's here.
Well, we got a motion to do that or change it.
Vote on the motion.
Vote on the motion.
Alright. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays?
Nay.
2 nays.
Stay.
Yeah, I'm
Anybody
gonna
abstain?
abstain.
Jack, you're up?
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay. So the motion passes.
I'm really disappointed in that this is how this is starting out with
Okay.
people's friends.
Let's see. Other, selectmen liaison reports?